So our topic today is how to move from ambition. Hang on, I'll wait for it to scroll back so everyone can see it. It's gone. Yeah, moving from an
Ambition.
ambition-driven world to a meaning-based world. Do you want to maybe give us a bit of a snapshot? What are we talking about here?
We're talking about the person that who is so focused on the KPIs, uh, the money they're making, the trinkets they have, the houses they want to accumulate, and they forget the real reason why they're doing it in the first place. The reason that we're working hard is so we can have a lifestyle.
Hmm.
And people doing that and focusing just on ambition don't put effort into their relationships because the relationship's a secondary thing. It doesn't seem as important to them off most of the time. And the achievement and the money in the bank and the BMW in the driveway is all external. It's
Hmm.
all about what other people see. It's not about who we really are underneath.
Hmm.
And it's it's what I do is help people connect to who they really are, which is their meaning and their purpose, their true selves.
So what led you to this? Because obviously there's something that's occurred in your life, or you've had some sort of situation that's become made this a highlight. Can you maybe tell us the backstory?
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. I was married for 30 or so years,
Hmm.
and my husband and I grew apart because he was very focused on making sure we the build our wealth.
Yep.
Very, very focused on the wealth.
Hmm.
And he measured, and I suppose I did too, in a way, measured wealth as how much money's in the bank and how much money there is in super and all that,
Yep.
and the trinkets and the holidays and what looked good. Yet I would say to him, it's not the holidays that matter. I don't care about the holidays. I
Mm.
want our life between the holidays to be positive,
Yeah.
to, to actually be connected, to be happy between the holidays. Because we only really had what we might call happiness when we're on holiday.
Okay.
And yeah, so
That's where it all
that's what
starts.
I'm doing.
Now you've moved
Mm,
into this world of saying, well, I see that there's a flaw in how people run their lives. And,
yeah.
I often say to people, business is a conduit, it's a means to an end. And
Oh,
when we
so
talk
is.
about business, it's all consuming. For most people I meet who go into business, it becomes their world. And the fact
Mm,
of that is that unless unless you know and deliberately choose for that to be the case, because for some people, that's what they want. So if you look at Elon Musk as an example, he eats, lives, breathes his business. He's
however, yes, yeah, I agree. But however, he says only be in a meeting if you have a contribution.
yes,
So it's also about meaning. So there's no point being in a meeting unless there's some meaning to it and
yeah,
some purpose to it. So
yeah.
it's and and it's about what is my purpose in being in this space,
Hmm.
and it's not just about ambition. I'm sure he's anyway. Maybe not.
No, it's not ambition at all. I mean, really, when you think about it, he's got more money than most people on the planet. And I don't think he really is looking to dominate the world. I feel like someone like Elon, and this is a very polarizing conversation, is he likes to see change in the world, and he's compelled to
Mm,
help people move things forward. His way of doing things, most people wouldn't agree with, but we could say the same around Steve Jobs. We could say the same around Jeff Bezos. All of these big
mm,
hitters, really, they're beyond survival. And so, in terms of ambition versus
mm,
meaning, I think there might be a stage where you transition the ambition of the nice car, nice house, luxury lifestyle, and you start to look at the question of, well, what am I doing this for? Um,
mm.
you mentioned a few things, and one of them. was.
as those hierarchy of needs, when we're in struggle, when we're in survival mode,
Mm,
we just have to make the money in order to pay for the bills, in order to get the food on our table. But apparently, according to people, mentors I've had, it's at about 80,000, which that that transitions over to now we can start looking at meaning. Once we've got 80,000 coming in, we've actually got all the survival things sorted.
mm.
That's so some people just go way beyond that and think they need way beyond that. But we, as soon as we earn that much, we actually have expenses up to that level, and so therefore we're always chasing our tail. But
Okay.
is having the bigger house, is having the better car going to make us happier, or is it spending time with those loved ones we have?
So
What's
let's sort of tune in on this. What is the problem that you solve? Like, how do people who are in this dilemma recognize there's a problem?
they they have to first of all see awareness is the first step.
Hmm.
That and I've talked to people who are successful, say in real estate or whatever, and then when they're with their families, they're feeling like there's no reason, there's no purpose, there's no what's in it for me, nothing.
Hmm.
And so it's being able to transition them from and seeing transition them from just wanting to be the ambition of succeeding, of selling another house, of whatever the project is, and then being busy, busy, busy around that, to being able to be present with those we love and being able to stop and actually be present and be connected. And I know I was a bit like that when my kids were little. And there's this great poem that if I had my time over again, I would look at it all so differently and connect with my kids more. And it's about that connection, because those kids are going to grow up and they're modeling who we're being. You know, the song Cats in the Cradle,
Hmm.
uh, famous song, which basically says the child is going to model us and be who we become, who we are teaching them to be. And if we can be the person we want them to be, then they'll model that. But if we say to them to be something, it's not going to be as strong as if unless we're modeling it. And
Mm.
that's what I do. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I help people see, what they're modeling to their kids, they're modeling to their staff. It's like the boss saying, I want all of you to get on. I want all of you to be friendly. And then they're always busy and yelling at them. So we have to be what we want the others to copy.
So how does this pan out in the real world? What do these people experience?
Yeah, so I'll just use a couple of case studies. One guy is very high up in business and knew in business that it was about lifestyle. So that was about ambition and meaning. Come and work with me, but your family's important too. And yet when he got home, he would not be able to deal with any relationships. So his relationships were quite destructive. And so, therefore, working on the patterns he learned through his growing up, that, and he realized that he needed to actually change the way he saw relationships. And now he's got a really blossoming relationship with someone more on a positive, meaningful um, level. And the other person is high flyer, very high flying in more in the university sphere, and she's gone through a whole lot of things in her life, and she got to a point where, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm working hard at work, but everything's not working, and she's just learnt to be who she is. And the way her parenting, it often goes back to parenting, the way she was parented, there was lots of positives, but there
Mm.
were a few things that said, you're not good enough the way you are. So she's always tried to be something she wasn't. But when she can actually say, yeah, I'm okay the way I am, and it's okay just to be calm, to be present,
Mm.
and her life's changed.
So
She can see the world differently.
what
Mm.
do you do?
Sorry?
When you meet someone who's obviously not fulfilled in their work and they have been driven by ambition, and you've now identified that this is not an effective driver for this person because they're losing connection with the people, what do you do?
Well, what do you want? I mean, first of all, it has to come from them, doesn't it? Like if a person is very very happy and all they want to do is earn more money, um, then they're not a client. The client for me is the person that's doing it, making the money, got the house, got the car, and then sits back and goes, "Is this all there is?
Mm.
Is there more in life? What's important in life?" Or they might, or that person who's working really hard and works longer hours because they don't actually want to go home because the relationship at home is quite destructive. And so that's also, it's like, why don't want to go home? When I get home, we have arguments. So how can we improve that? How can we help them change who they're being so that their relationship at home is better? And then that's better for the children, and it just, there's a flow on effect.
So how
It's
do you
about who we're.
go about doing that? Like how do you do it? How do you change that?
Okay, well, I have a model which is called modeling, mattering, mentoring. And so the first step is that I am worthy no matter what I've achieved today. So many people are conditioned to think I'm only worthy if I achieve A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I've got all this off the list. And then I can go, well done, you've done a good job.
Mm-hmm.
I But changing that whole way of looking at it, that I'm worthy no matter what I've done today. I'm worthy, intrinsically worthy
Mm.
because of who I am. So that's the meaning part of it. Our meaning is who we're being and how we're being inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then knowing we matter, and it's not conditional. We matter because we matter and we are enough and we are lovable the way we are.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's then they live that. That's the modeling part.
Yeah.
And so knowing we matter, we can live that so everyone else matters too. And the way we interact with others
Mm.
is because everybody matters. And so we change the way we react or respond to others. And there's lots of triggers and there's lots of automatic responses that people have.
Mm.
And it's looking at that automatic response and seeing how is that actually helping
Yeah.
you to have the relationship. We work on their modeling, what they actually do, and then from there they can help mentor either their children or their staff members to know they matter and to help them be different.
Mm.
But we have no right to mentor someone if we're not doing it ourselves. Um, there is absolutely, it's just disconnected.
Mm-hmm.
My dad would say to me when he was giving me a big smack, hurts me more than hurts you. I'm doing this for your good. I'm thinking, really? You know? So that's the old way. The new way is about connecting rather than about, so there's two ways of choice in choice theory. There's one way which is the controlling behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
like I'll give you a lolly if you do that.
Yeah.
The other way is the connecting behaviors, which is, yeah, I get it that doing dishes is a pain. You don't want to do dishes. I get it. yeah, but I know you can do it and you're capable of it. So why don't you do that and then it's done. So there's two different ways of looking at something
Yeah.
and getting the same result, but also building the other person's credibility for themselves. That do they do it for the external lolly, or do they do it because they want to feel good about themselves and then that they can problem solve themselves?
Mm.
Cody talked about that in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
He talked about that as well. So it's been this sort of giving people that sense of who they are
Yeah.
and that they're capable is really, really important. And it's not, we're not just going to love you if you do it. If you get a result, we're going to love you anyway.
Okay. So
Mm.
a lot of this is really about mindset. It's about psychology.
That mindset.
It's about
Yeah, absolutely.
relationships. It's about not getting hijacked by materialistic desires. It's about really starting to think about, what am I doing to affect people around me?
Mm,
How am I impacting the people around me? It really sounds like these are things that get forgotten in the race, don't they?
they do. They do. And this ambition driven world is all about. Um, oh, I was listening to Brene Brown. Have you heard of Brene Brown? And she was saying this thing about being cool. And she said the worst thing, one of the worst things is this needing to be cool. And needing to be cool is um, in order to fit in, I
Mm-hmm.
have to be a certain way, so I'm cool.
Yeah.
And often in that coolness, the whole thing of, oh, you don't need to do that study. Why would you do study? It's cool just to cheat. But then I've frozen. I hope not. And then what happens is that they learn, they become, they lose who they are. They are. So it's about not being cool. It's about being our best,
Mm-hmm.
being excellent. So it's about excellence rather than perfectionism. So I'm going to try as hard as I can to get good marks in this. I'm going to challenge myself and overcome and develop that strategy of how I can be better, be my best,
Mm-hmm.
rather than sit around and have no ambition.
Yeah.
Well, see that, and it's actually having a balance of ambition and meaning. Because I know when I first had my children and I was home, it's there's no, the ambition is to get some sleep, and the meaning is lots of meaning and lots of love. But I think we all, as humans, need a challenge as well as we need the connection.
Mm-hmm.
So the two, we want the two to work together so that we have ambition, but we are always aware of the meaning and the connection.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't forget that and we live it. So it's having a balance of both. And people will say work life balance, but it's not a work life balance because work is part of life. So it's an ambition and meaning balance.
Right.
So we've got, and some days we'll have lots of ambition. So when we're studying for an exam, for example,
Mm.
we're working on getting those results. But then balancing it with then, okay, I'm going to spend some quality time with my family because I've done the exam. That has to be done.
Yeah.
And also spending time with ourselves, doing what fills us up.
Mm.
And that's play and creativity. It's making sure that we're looking after ourselves because who we are is important, not just our results.
Yeah. Yeah. Fantastic. So really, like, I suppose if someone's questioning, whether they're on the right path in their career, in their business, uh,
Mm,
losing meaning because they're getting distracted by all of these ambitious goals of bigger cars, bigger,
mm,
faster, more, etc.
mm.
How can they get in touch with you?
Well, my business is called Learning Through Life,
Mm-hmm.
and that's im- the reason I've chosen that as a name is that unless we're learning, we're going backwards. Unless we're growing, we're going backwards. Um, and there's a website, learningsthroughlife.net.au.
Mhm.
You can connect with me through that.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's the best way of connecting. And
Mm.
we can have a chat, and I offer people a 45-minute free one-on-one conversation to see if we would be able to work together. And in
Mm.
that time, work out some goals that the person wants and see if we'll be able to work out a plan going forward.
Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think, yeah.
That's awesome. Jen, I think there's a few people this time of year we sort of reflecting on how the year went and
Mm,
what worked and what didn't work. And it's a real
mm.
time to really think about, that whole idea of meaning and what's important to us. So if you were going to recommend some reading for people over the break, what would you suggest they read?
Oh, gosh. Anything Brene Brown has written
Hmm.
is unbelievable. People in business, Simon Sinek, Start With Why.
Hmm.
Uh, the old books, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
So there's a few, but anything Brene Brown.
Yeah.
She's even on Netflix, so you can
Mm.
see her there
Yeah.
just to get the first taste because what she has to say is so wise,
Awesome.
and it's all based on research as well. So it's not just
Okay.
someone thought it was. Yeah, a Gabor Mate as well.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah. So enjoy, read those things. Yeah,
Okay.
fantastic.
Jen, I'm mindful of time, and also, obviously, we can talk about this topic for a very long time. But
Hours.
the key here is hopefully we can get some people to think differently about what's important to them, making sure
Yes.
that they're looking for meaning rather than just the goals, just the ambition. And I think it also helps with people, their resilience in business as well, doesn't it?
Yes, because otherwise we burn out, don't
Mm.
we? Actually, a book I found in an op shop up the road is by Adriana Huffington, who owns Huffington Post.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you say her name. And she talks about thriving, and thriving is about that meaning piece
Mm.
because she burnt out
Mm-hmm.
doing ambition,
Yeah.
and then she realized meaning is important
Yeah.
and actually looking after our health and looking after our well-being.
Yeah.
Mm, it's really a great book to read.
Awesome.
Mm,
Awesome. Once again, Jen, thanks so much for your time today. Hopefully,
my absolute pleasure.
all
Thank
out of it.
you so much for having me, David.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.